Señor Muscat, tiene la palabra.
Much, Mr. President. I expect some of you would be expecting me to be angry after this debate. Actually, I'm not. I'm very happy to be here. I consider this a natural second home for me. And I do understand the spirit of this debate. And I do understand the political narrative of it all. So allow me to reply in kind and to be tongue-in-cheek in my replies and very candid and very open in the way I try to address the concerns that you have put forward. I do understand as a politician the timing of the debate, and I do appreciate that a majority in this House did not agree to the fact that such a debate takes place during an electoral campaign. This is a much more serene setting for such a debate. I welcome, first of all, Mr. Weber's wishes. I thank him for his contribution to our campaign back in Malta. He said that the only politicians mentioned in the Panama Papers were Maltese. I'm sorry, it's not true. We have a commissioner from the EPP family who is mentioned in those papers. His own family. No one is saying anything about that. No one is saying anything about it. Mr. Langen, I haven't interrupted you. Please listen to me. Hear me out. No one said anything about that. So I do believe that that was the first incorrect fact. But really and truly, there are three ways in which this debate has gone. There is the debate on the Panama Papers, there is the debate on the issue of taxation, and there is then an outright lie that has been said. Let's start with the debate on the Panama Papers, with many members asking why there is not an investigation. And I think Ms. Metsola said it quite clearly. There are 4 investigations taking place in court by independent judges. And they will decide whether there is room for prosecution. And there already has been a commitment that if there is such room for prosecution, resignations would be in order. I'm amazed that this basic fact was not taken into consideration. There are 4 independent judicial investigations taking place. So that is the most basic fact that, I'm sorry, quite a number of members got wrong. And I do believe the problem is that most of the time, members, colleagues, are sourcing their facts simply from the social media and not trying to dig a little bit deeper to try to ascertain the veracity of facts. Secondly, I do believe that, and I do bring to your attention the fact that some of the conclusions that you were referring to were really and truly denied by the same institutions, independent institutions, that are being quoted, including the Financial Intelligence Analysis Unit. I must say that I will keep on mentioning a number of facts that I think need to be ascertained. Let me start with our tax system. Malta's imputational tax system is quite unique in Europe. That's true. It hasn't been invented or put in during the past 4 years or 10 years. It has been there since World War II. It has been scrutinized by the Commission prior to our joining the European Union more than 11 years ago. It is OECD compliant. Some might not like it. Some might say it is competitive. The fact is that it has undergone all levels of scrutiny by all organizations. I also believe that there are 2 ways in which we can go on the taxation element. One, I agree with this House, and I will show how in practice we, as a government and also as a presidency, have gone to lengths, not only not to obstruct the advancement of dossiers in this area, but actually to conclude dossiers that are quite thorny. ATAT 2, the Anti-Tax Avoidance Directive, the second recast. BEPS, the erosion of profits, profit shifting. These are all issues that have been concluded or progress has been achieved under the Maltese presidency. And I think that's a fact that should be taken into consideration. I must also stress the fact that our government, and also as a whole, we are part of the OECD exchange of information. Some mentioned the Malta files. There's nothing secret. The people who have companies back at home are publicly available on the internet. The only exercise that was made was a consolidation of elements where instead of searching a company, one searches a name. Take a look, please, and I invite you to take a look at the Tax Justice Network's Financial Secrecy Index. You'll find at least 5 member states, and not necessarily the usual suspects, who are ranked lower than Malta when it comes to secrecy and transparency. We have done away with banking secrecy more than a decade and a half ago. We are not the last people to come to join this fight against avoidance and evasion. The point where we disagree is that where member states should not be left to decide their own tax levels. That's something I totally disagree with the majority of this House about. I might remain in a minority on this, but that is something that I believe is fundamental and is also fundamental for a number of other member states, irrespective of the composition of our economy. It's not true that our economy is dependent on financial services. That shows a lack of knowledge about the way the structure of the smallest member state's economy. Maybe it's not too much important for some of you over here. But if you look at the basic numbers, our economy, our main exports are microchips. In almost all your mobile phones, you'll find a microchip proudly made in Malta. We're not a mailbox economy. We're an economy that produces value added. And trying to put a caricature of all this, I can accept it in a tabloid. But really and truly, I expect a more informed debate in such a house. Let me move on to some other issues. I said the independence of institutions, but also the way in which we source our information and the way in which we direct debates. Yes, quite a number of you relied on reports that were on media. None of you, I'm surprised, referred to the Moneyval reports. I believe that we all trust Moneyval. Moneyval is an institution that is not political. It's an institution that sees each and every jurisdiction, makes recommendations, and it's very tough. Moneyval has a positive report about our country. FSAP, let's refer to the facts. It's not about who tweets and who posts on the internet. It's about experts telling us what to do in the same way that Greco, the Council of Europe, told us, you guys don't have a system of party financing. We don't know who is financing your political parties. Guess what? We introduced a system. Guess what? We are now totally compliant with the system and we're implementing it. It's not a law just there for the sake of being there. Unfortunately, the opposition doesn't like it. But fortunately enough, we are all complying to it. Which brings me to some other points which I would like to make. Which is really the third point, which some of you have referred to. And I'm really sorry that Mr. Langen is no longer here, or at least I don't see him. Some people in this House have referred to a story, a totally outright lie that has been directed against me, my wife and my family, that I have some sort of structure, account, funds that I took from some contract. This is an outright lie. Whenever I ask someone to tell me the source of all this, everyone points at the same blog and report, which is unsubstantiated. And you know what? We respect so much the rule of law that as Prime Minister, I went to court. I asked the court, an independent institution, where I have already, as Prime Minister, divested myself of the right enjoyed by my predecessors to nominate people to the bench. But now people come to the bench after being vetted by independent lawyers and prosecutors. And I asked the court, please, appoint a magistrate to investigate these allegations. And I said more than that. I said, not only if there is some evidence that is put forward, but if there is a shred of truth, I will immediately resign. I put myself on the line for the simple reason I know it's totally untrue. Those who made the allegations, I asked them, would you want to pledge your political career if what you're saying is false? No, they did not take up the challenge. And Maltese people judged also based on this fact. What a politician would pledge his own career totally on one statement, on one assertion. I don't even bat an eyelid doing that because I know I'm saying the truth. And I marveled at the idea that some extremely knowledgeable members of this House have taken this thing, this fake news, and repeated it here just like that. So my point to Mr. Langen is, and to some colleagues, why aren't you coming to the PANA committee? I said about a month and a half ago, I am coming to the PANA committee. If you don't get this basic fact right, I'm sorry, please check your press reviews or fire the people who are making them for you. I said I would be coming. I said I would be coming once the judge comes out with the independent investigation. One of the 4 independent investigations, to be able to present to the PANA committee not what the Prime Minister of Malta is saying, but facts ascertained by the judiciary. And I'm amazed that such a basic fact has been overlooked when there is such what I deem to be a serious debate, or which should have been a serious debate. I will conclude, Mr. President. The second part of the topic for discussion is the rule of law. Let me take some time in saying what we do back at home about the rule of law. May I remind you, The Economist classifies Malta as one of the few countries which is a full democracy. Some other member states are not full democracies. But I will not judge them. What we have done, first of all, we have a totally independent National Audit Office that criticises government whenever it deems it needs to criticise government. And a government that, when it has reports, takes corrective action. We have an ombudsman who is critical of all institutions and of all governments, irrespective of which party forms that government. A public service commission that is made up of representatives from all sides of the House. We have a judiciary, an independent judiciary, which even during the last legislature decided that the opposition should have 2 extra seats. We disagreed with that ruling, but we said yes, we will implement that ruling because we observe the rule of law. We have an Attorney General who wasn't changed after the election. We kept the same Attorney General who was nominated by the previous government. And now this person of high integrity gets attacked because some people in the opposition don't like the way in which he is giving advice. We have the chair of our Financial Services Regulatory Authority who was appointed by the previous administration. We kept him in office. We have removed time barring on issues of corruption. I mentioned a number of other facts, such as the removal of parliamentary immunity, the implementation now very soon of a commissioner for public standards. We will be having for the first time hearings in our parliament for appointing regulators. We have enacted a Freedom of Information Act. We have relaxed media laws in a way that now they are one of the most, if not the most, the set of media laws which is the most liberal in Europe, where we not only did not put constraints on journalists, but we have even relaxed the way in which journalists are needed to put forward issues related to sources. And we have removed criminal libels in order to prevent journalists from being put in prison. Laws that have been there even after we joined the European Union. And we managed to remove them. In doing all this, then, we managed to achieve success. And I do believe that there might be some people who are not too keen in our economic success and social success. We not only have the best performing economy in the Eurozone, and that's not because of financial services and gaming alone. It's about tourism, it's about manufacturing, it's about the services industry. It's about the honest, busy people that go to work each and every day. We have increased our pensions. We have increased the minimum wage. We have introduced universal free childcare. We have put Malta from number 20 whatever on the ILGA list for LGBTIQ rights. We're now number 1 in Europe. So this is prosperity with a purpose. This is the sort of debate I would love to have in this House. I don't have a problem in having the debate that we just had. I do hope that when I appear in front of PANA committee with the facts, and I assure Mr. Langen that I will appear in front of the committee. I am not a Volkswagen that says one thing but does another. I keep my word. I will be here to present facts, and those facts hopefully will show how misguided some colleagues unfortunately have been. Having said that, I love this institution and will continue to stick up for this institution. Thank you very much.